Howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Scannell Agenda. Today's show is entitled Border Zone Economics. This is show number 68, and today's date is June 6th, 2017. Time marches on. So I've been working on the border zone, as you know. And if we do, I was thinking, nail this border zone issue, there's going to be increased pressure on the United States of America insofar as we need to tighten up on other entry points. And also, we've never really had, to my way of thinking, a very comprehensive identification system, which we do need as part of our economic border zone strategy. I say by law, identify any and all in the United States of America. And if you're caught crossing or an overstay, well, that should be dealt with as a violation, unlike today, which is we have pseudo law, not really the law. What is the law is de facto the transgressions upon the law by politicians. The law is there, it's in print. If it's not enforced, it is most likely a violation of the law in that it is a what do you call it? I always have a tough time with this one. It's not a conspiracy to defraud the law or deny its existence. It's just by not enforcing the law. It'll come to me. I can't keep stammering. But anyway, caught crossing or an overstay, that's got to be dealt with if we're going to have law, if we're going to be that country, the USA, called the nation of laws, not men. You never hear that anymore because you got your libertarians and the rich who want the low prices for labor. They want the market to just worldwide dictate what the price of labor is. And then you got the other end of the political spectrum that wants no borders, basically. There are some people that just want America to be open to all the poor of the world. And you got your crazies on the right and your crazies on the left. That's nothing new, but you can triangulate that situation if you're the oligarchy, and you can produce chaos from that, which will then keep you in power. Chaos is very useful to the oligarchy, and that's what we have now. Okay, it's an obstruction of justice to not enforce the law. Part of justice in a justice system is law enforcement. And if you're a cop or a law enforcement official, and you're saying, oh, we shouldn't be enforcing this law or that law, you're not good in my estimation. I don't buy it, because I think there is a hierarchy with federal, state, and local laws and ordinances and regulations, and they all have to be adhered to or changed. And it was always explained to me this way. Fine, if you don't like the law, you got to follow the law because that's the law. And you can change it if you want to. We have a system that can change the law. So, an identification system is critical to the economics of securing our country and our borders. With good people inside our borders, useful people inside our borders, the right people, not the wrong people, and the right people are the people that we choose formally to be citizens and visitors, not you hop the fence. Congratulations, you hopped the fence. Not to be personal about this, because I don't like being personal with my politics. I don't like being pointed to and being called a hater of some kind because I want the law enforced. That's not where I'm coming from. I love my fellow man wherever they're from. They're human beings. They're my neighbors. I love them. But we have to have the order. Order is heaven's first law. Also, we're overdoing it with having too many police. We have too many druggies. We have too many fugitives. And we have too much lost taxes. And we have just too much general chaos and disorder with these situations that occur. Now, the economics of the border zone, or as I call it, the BOR zone for short, that's my project, is BOR zone, is such that we're going to be faced with needing to solidify our Atlantic and Pacific and Gulf coasts from entry by possible terrorists or possible, good-hearted workers who just want to get in here. That's, it works both ways. It's a double-edged sword, We just have to have the order. We have to. It's a must. So the border zone economics, there's a lot to be said for order. One of my projects was 28-hour work week. Didn't necessarily go with the economics of the border zone, but shore and port border security does. If you're a marina and you have an identification system and you know who comes and goes and you can see who's not a regular, that's your first step. Beach landings and systems that would protect your coastline from anyone coming in any way. So the BOR zone will put pressure on the seacoast and the Canadian-United States border too. Now there's another side to the economics of the border. Are we going to build a straight up wall? Something Donald has in mind is just build the wall. This is not a hotel here, and it would be nice if it were a gated community and a hotel, and the wall would be fairly straightforward and simple. But this is a 1,963 odd mile border, or 62, I'm not sure. And part of that is Indian reservation, part of it's wetlands with the Rio Grande River, part of it's really rough terrain, a lot of it's desert and very empty rural desert. Some of it's very conducive to putting what I call these county jail annexes upon. I used to call it the ribbon prison because let's say Barnstable County and Sheriff Cummings would have a 10-mile wide or 5-mile wide zone, which would be his, and it would belong to the county. And there'd be some county operations there, such as boat building, maybe a couple of dry-out centers for people with addiction issues or, drinking issues. And then the people that can't follow the rules, they may say, wait a minute, do I really want to go down to the border zone to be a prisoner or to work? You may want to go down just to work. You and the judge may agree that may be a good idea. So also the other issues that I work on, such as the eelgrass cultivation and the herring cultivation, codfish, kelp, you name it, I want to cultivate all of it, because once you cultivate all of it, what then you have is a crew. You have a cultivation crew. Okay, that's one thing, but what you need is a fisheries crew. And I've been saying on this show many times, your best people to do the fishery management job, It's kind of a political plum job given out to people that are kind of agreeable politically and may be very inept. But now the crux of it is, if you want the best fishery manager and you want the best system of fishery management, what you're going to use is your hatchery crews. And you want to share the leadership and let them all participate like a clubhouse would do. And so you'd have people that really knew the animal. Now it could be a sea clam, it could be a bay scallop, it could be a sea scallop, it could be a winter flounder or fluke, or it could be lobster, which I've heard is going downhill again. It's been threatened here and there. And wouldn't that be a shame? And the codfish, that is a damn shame. But you want people that can do the aquaculture, that understand the animal from cradle to grave, as they say, understand the habitat. You want these people, along with some fishermen and aquaculture technicians, etc. You want those people in the power seat with the management. Asset management of fisheries is very different than what we do right now. We don't do asset management of fisheries. So down on the border zone, I was looking in Kmart the other day, and there was this trampoline, and it had a cage around it, and I said, that is exactly what I designed, and I knew I was designing a trampoline, by the way, too, for the cultivation of our river herring, or alewives. So that's just one thing that we can build down on the border zone and put the parts together and assemble it probably here on Cape Cod and put it up in all these ponds. And then you get your aquaculture people. Those would be the people getting the herring and getting the herring to put the spawn and the milt, you know, the eggs and the sperm in the right conditions, and then add it to the right habitat, which would be probably like medium coarse gravel, protected, and let these few herring that we do have get a proper start up in a pond with the right systems. And then I think you would be flabbergasted to see how quickly that gear can come to bear on producing herring. You'd be flabbergasted. Herring can bump up very quickly. Years ago, what they would do would be to open up the run to fisheries for 2 or 3 or 4 days and then let the herring go up the other days of the week. And that worked pretty well. So to get back to those days, when we can do that again, and we can use the market quota system to do that, and you get these guys that don't know what to do with their lives down on the border zone getting into trouble, and the sheriff and a bunch of other people are down there, and you're putting the gear together, and the gear's coming back here to be used for the herring fishery. Well, that's just one of many, many, many fisheries. We need all the work getting done that we can get done. And it can be justified using the market quota system. So the border zone ties in with the market quota system of fisheries. So what I'm a little hazy on with this border zone is some of the political economics as to where the states fall into line with the federal government, and the counties. Let's just say, for instance, that we had New England states plus New York, New Jersey, and Ohio as one zone. We had a good transportation network worked out to get our people to and from, and then to and from, let's say, New Mexico, Arizona area, where we had a good grub stake going there for our county systems. And then that would be the C area. The B area would be the areas where you'd be living. There'd be a lot of foreigners living there perhaps, and they would work in the A zone. So it would be A would be closest to America, B, which would be the middle, and then C, which would be right on the border of Mexico. This is what I've got designed. And I've got the blocks designed as 5-mile blocks. Could be 5 by 10, could be 10 by 10, depending. And then I've got counties and your municipalities such as Boston Town and Providence, Rhode Island, getting in there. So with this particular design, I've got Nantucket County, Dukes County, Barnstable County, and Plymouth County grouped together. And I've got, on the flank, I've got Boston and Providence, Rhode Island. And these would be pre-planned and engineered to be working areas for your county jails, for your county projects and other projects. And this would be the economic driver. You'd have the cash flow would be that you'd have, let's say me, if I just got thrown in jail, down there working on gear for, let's say, sea scallop gear, that we're introducing sea scallops into Cape Cod Bay, and I'd be working on the gear. And, you know, I may be making up the kinder, gentler dredges, or I may be making plastic kelp as a reef or tire reefs, or there's just hundreds and hundreds of little jobs to do down there on the border zone for fisheries. Not to mention building boats for our community sailing programs throughout the world, let alone Cape Cod. The whole world needs a good class boat, and I would maintain that Alfred Sanford and Edward Sanford of Sanford Boat Company, these are the guys to design such a boat based on Herreshoff's Illyrian. Maybe it would be a 33-footer, a day sailor that a kid in high school can take out charters on and put himself through college. Maybe that same boat would be a boat that you can let a kid go by himself to Nantucket or the Vineyard a few times. You know, if they're qualified, just go out sailing. It's good for the heart and soul and mind. If you don't want people going off on the wrong direction, you put them on the right direction. You know, this is the old way, I guess. You give them, when I was a kid, the reason I say this, I was put out there in a boat, and you know, there was a little worrying going on, but not, it wasn't excessive, you know. And I was out in some rough weather in some small boats, and I think that was probably pretty good for me. So we've got the A section for the border zone is factories, basically, generally. And then the B section is an international area for residences and guest workers and tourism, supported tourism. And then your C area, it's ABC zones in the border zone, is a very secure area. That's for your county jails to operate out of. And the economics of being able to send people to dry out down to the border zone would be very good, because we got to get people on the right track. Get them off the wrong track, get them on the right track, of which I would say I'm an expert, because I'm a clubhouse man. Very, very dyed-in-the-wool at this point. Not that Clubhouse has much going for it, because it's been ruined by Deval Patrick. But when it's running right, it's an assembly line for recovery. I have drawn in here AmeriCorps, which is an AmeriCorps base using ABC 123 training. That's another one of my projects. And there are 7 of these AmeriCorps bases along the border zone. Now that's economics. You want your people that are in training to be working hard, doing projects, and if they're bright and they're young and they qualify to be on AmeriCorps, you want to be putting projects on the table for them right and left, challenging them. And, you know, the cream will rise to the top. Here's one which is grandiose. It's called Tripe Saves the Cape. This is for the sand dredge equipment that I have designed, and it's also for the tripe system. And I've got the tripe system designed to haul sand in this particular eventuality. It's kind of like, I don't see it as science fiction at all. I see it as mechanical planning. So I would say to add 2 miles of new beach to Nauset would be quite a surprise if we could pull it off using autonomous gear of my design, which is very possible. I've got a project called Free Power and Plenty of Fish. And the free power thing, that's compressed air and hydrogen. Now, if you have then autonomous dredging equipment that can deliver the sand from A to B, then it's a matter of building the equipment and pushing the button. Don't quote me on that, of course. So this is 80 to 60 feet above mean low water, new sand, with dunes, with shacks, with salt ponds and fresh ponds and artificial reefs outside, and the Nauset windmills, which is a smaller version of the windmills. This stuff is all doable, and it's especially doable if we put everyone to work. Now, if we don't put everyone to work, if everyone is sitting on the couch, drunk and high, with addiction issues, and they don't know how to follow the rules, and they're making the sheriff very unhappy because he does not want to run a happy house of idiots. Who would? Who would want that job? To be, running a bunch of bozos that don't know enough to put the drink down, don't know enough to stop doing the drugs, getting into trouble, mentally ill, can't follow the rules. Oh my God, what are we going to do? It's mayhem. Now we can have more order with this border zone economics. We can say a place to be is in jail on the border if you've got addiction issues. And the judge will say, the place to be for you, Mr. Scannell, is down there on the border zone. And good luck to you. And bang comes down the gavel. And everyone would cry. Yeah, right. So that is a picture I'm looking at of all these tripe lines, and the new port of Monomoy Point would be an industrial port. I've got another industrial port designed for the east end of the canal, and a huge port for international mega hatcheries in Truro, because it has the best algae. Now, the economics of building parts for what I call the Plains Mill operation, which is windmills on the plains, would be very important to the border zone, because using this railway I have designed for the Rio Grande bed, that is the riverbed, Mexico and the United States share this, and it can be used for large parts delivery from the ocean to the border zone, and then up into the plains from Texas all through the Dakotas. Partially that would be Colorado, the east side of Colorado. This is all very much good ground for wind. So it would take a lot of effort to build on dry land, much more so than at sea, because at sea you just bring your equipment in and you plant it. But in the plains area, you might have a little bit more wind to justify this too. And it's protected, it's in the middle of the country. Nothing like putting your assets out there on the edge, right? Probably not a good idea. So I did all this work with the Georges Bank Mega Mill, windmills, wind and wave, hybrid systems to produce compressed air and hydrogen mainly. And then, if you look at the charts for the wind, you got to say, well, geez, maybe we can have a dual windmill and greenhouse, or dual windmill and this or that. We can put it all in these lowly populated areas where the pipeline is going to be put there. It heads right up into the tar sands areas up in Canada. That's another issue. But the border zone can help with the tripe system that should go right up through. The Plains mills will be powering the tripe system, or the Georges Bank manga mills, or I'm not sure, or the Aleutian Islands. And you've got geothermal too, hybrid nuclear geothermal. There's a lot of arrangements that can be put together that are other than burning coal, natural gas, and oil. But you got to actually do some due diligence and design work and prototyping, and that's all hard work. And you got to have brainstormers to start that up, to jumpstart that. So part of the economics, firstly, is your brainstormers have to gear up. And what a place is Massachusetts for the brains. They say it's really the smartest place. You couldn't prove it by me, that's for sure. But, however, there's a lot of colleges here, right? Here's a project, Better Walls and Gardens. This is a depiction of a 45-foot wide wall by 27-foot tall. And then you have a planter up on top of the wall. And it's got 4 stories of living space. It's very Spartan. It's very lightweight, easy to construct. But the difference being it would have an atrium on top, so that would most likely be closed system bamboo. Closed system bamboo is very important to a lot of the construction projects that I have on the table. Now that has to be jump-started somehow. And I've got some offbeat ideas like a steam pump, you know, with solar-assisted steam pump using coal. But that's kind of a Rube Goldberg thing, and you got to go through ideas to get to the cream. You know, the cream will rise to the top. So the thing of it is, modeling is the key. So we have to model up the border zone, and then we have to look at it from a cost-benefit analysis perspective. And can we get these teams of people together and pull it off? And can we prototype it? Can we get it started? Can we look at it from A to Z and then go back to A and get it started slowly and then keep going from A to Z to A to Z? Okay, that's it for the Scannell Agenda. Thanks for watching.